Hi, this is Helen McCaffrey, and I'm here again for the Independent Examiner. And today we are talking to Dr. Castino. We won't be speaking specifically of his case, which took 5 years, and during which he was completely exonerated of all charges. We will be speaking to him as an expert in pain management, especially as it relates to the opioid and heroin addiction problem we have in the country. It's estimated that 50,000 people a year die from heroin overdoses in this country, an epidemic by any standard. To paraphrase Sir William Blake, the eye that alters all. It affects not just the individual himself, it affects the entire country. Because when you alter your consciousness, you alter your perception of reality, which changes the society. We're going to ask the doctor what his experience was, what he thinks the causes are, and what he thinks the prognosis is for the country regarding pain management and also the heroin epidemic that now rages. Hi, doctor.
Good morning.
You are, by all accounts, by looking at your curriculum vitae, an expert in the field of pain management. And recently we've seen so many lawsuits being brought by states who want to lay the blame for this terrible scourge that is now covering the United States. So I'd like to have your professional analysis.
Okay. It's interesting that they want to blame the physician population for these issues. Drugs, as you know, have been used, various forms of drugs have been used across the world, across the continents, for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've been extracting the juice of the poppy for thousands of years. So this is not something new as far as the world is concerned. Become such a horrible problem in this country as a result of not just the physiologic issues of people, but the psychiatric issues with people. Now, granted, many patients start out with some form of pain management for serious problems, fractures, surgical issues, and I can go on and on and on, the whole gamut of medical problems that people will take a pain pill for. But most of those people, and this is into the millions and millions of people, are prescribed medication for their pain, their discomfort, whatever. And they sort of get over that hump when their discomfort goes away or their surgical problem is ameliorated, etc., etc. There are that percentage of people, however, that become habituated by certain types of medications.
And as you said before, habituation is not the same thing as addiction.
Habituation simply means that you've taken a product for a period of time and you're used to it. Insulin is a habituated drug. Type 1 diabetics need insulin. They're habituated. They're not addicted to insulin. They're habituated to insulin. Many type 2 diabetics are on various forms of insulin because it really helps their blood sugar problem, etc., etc. The problem with drug addiction in this country started way back in the 50s. Certain entities, powerful entities in this country brought these drugs into this country. Okay?
Would you say it was more of a problem after World War II than, say, from what I've read, there was a spike in the use of opioids after the Civil War, with laudanum and that sort of thing?
There was, as a matter of fact, the late 1800s and early 1900s, laudanum was purchased right over the counter. And laudanum is just another opiate.
Right.
It's an opiate derivative. It's a poppy derivative. It's oral heroin. That's what it is. Like methadone is oral heroin.
Right.
And I don't know how long that lasted. I mean, I wasn't around then, obviously. You know.
Right. Me too.
But I think there were some restrictions placed on laudanum back in the mid '90s. So
1890s, right?
yeah, so it became, it became restricted
Right.
to some degree, and then in the '50s, late '40s, early '50s, in Southeast Asia and in Malaysia and certain other areas in South America, this poppy became very popular, and they started producing lots of heroin. And then cocaine came into the practice after a period of time. And all of a sudden, you had cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. Well, you had three major drugs, and that's why they're all class one drugs. You know what I mean by that,
Yes.
class one.
And marijuana is also class one?
Marijuana is still class one.
Love that.
That's the moronic DEA.
Sure.
I mean, it's legal in certain states
Yeah.
for recreation, but it's still classified federally as a class one. At any rate, with the advent of codeine as a pharmaceutical product,
And what is codeine made from?
codeine is a derivative of morphine.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. In fact, if you look at the molecules, just go on your computer and look up morphine and go to codeine, go to heroin, and you'll see there's only a couple little differences in the basic heterocyclic compound of morphine. Morphine is the base product.
Okay.
All the other little things are just changes in the morphine molecule, just an addition of an ethyl group or a methyl group or whatever to get a different product. They all have different names, but it's basically a morphine derivative. But what happened in the Vietnam era was the powers to be, Air America, the powers to be in this country, were fighting a war in Vietnam. However, they're producing thousands of tons of heroin in Laos and bringing it over into this country. They addicted, and when I say they, the powers to be, addicted, not habituated, but addicted, thousands of our military guys fighting a war that they could never win. We had 1 million men over there. 52,000 were killed or wounded. The rest came home, and many of them were addicted to the opiates. So that's when it really took hold in this society that we live in today. Because there are still plenty of Vietnam veterans that are still taking these drugs, getting them here, there, or everywhere. Let's get back to the physician issue. Granted, there are some what they call pill mills, several in Florida that were closed, where you just go in and give a guy some money and you get a prescription for some type of opiate.
Yeah, like Florida just changed their laws recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgraceful. Don't misunderstand me. It's horrible. It's certainly not medicine. It's just a disgrace. But they did it for a number of years and got away with it.
Yeah.
Then you got the kids that take their grandparents' pills. They steal the pills and start taking them as a recreation issue. See? Personally, I have never given a prescription for any opiate for anyone under the age of 23 or 24. I would never give a child or a young adult a prescription for an opiate. There's no reason to do that. My pain management people, reasonable human beings, working men mostly, working women also, who had specific pain management issues. They came into my office once a month, routine basis. They took their medication as prescribed. There were never any excuses or reasons to do anything otherwise.
You said that a lot of the young people start using this stuff for recreational purposes,
sure.
and they steal it from their grandparents' medicine
right.
closet. What happens when they have no more access? Grandma, grandpa die, or the medicine cabinet's empty. What happens
Well,
then?
this is the problem. And I'm talking about mid-20s now, 23, 24, 25-year-old kids who work, do whatever they do, but they like the recreational business. It's like sniffing glue,
Right.
you know? What they do is they go out on the street Because today, and for the past 6, 7, 8, 9 years, heroin is very cheap. They can go out and buy a bag of heroin for $5, $10. And some of these people, listen, I did drug treatment, addiction therapy. My product was Suboxone, which is a fabulous, it's a miracle drug, believe me when I tell you that. But these kids, and when I say kids, mid-20s to mid-30s, they go out on the street and they buy heroin because it's cheap. Cheap as you know what. And they start using a bag, then 2 bags. And a bag is just a little piece of plastic wrapped around some powder. That's what it is. 3 bags, 4 bags. I had patients that were doing 12 and 15 bags a day. Now think about it. Think about it. And their arms are all bruised up. I mean, it's a disgrace. But this is what has become the heroin epidemic of today. It's not pills, it's heroin. People are dying of heroin overdose. If their heroin is cut with other products, let's say it's only 50% pure, they can get away with it. But every now and then, you get a shipment of 100%, 90%, which is really heavy-duty heroin. And they think they're dealing with the unpure when they're really dealing with the pure stuff.
Right.
They inject that, and their respirations go down to nothing, and they get a ventricular fibrillation, and they're dead.
And that's what happens. You can't breathe.
You lose all the narcotics have respiratory depression as a part of their side effects. And it all depends upon how your body handles that drug. Remember, the cytochrome P450 system, the system of enzymes that metabolize everything you take into your body, whether it's through your mouth, into your stomach, from your veins to your cells, it doesn't matter.
So everybody could be different.
Everybody is different. There's a whole system of enzymes, and we'll go into that at a later date. A whole system of enzymes that we all have. They're produced in the liver, and they all have a specific purpose. And we're all different as far as the ability to metabolize everything that we ingest or deliver intravenously. Very interesting subject.
So, in your professional opinion and your expert opinion, what do you think is killing the 50,000 a year who are overdosing?
Heroin. I mean, crack cocaine is used by lots of people. A little bit of crack cocaine, but they don't die of crack cocaine. In fact, they really don't die much of cocaine powder. That's a recreational drug. They die of heroin because heroin gives them a quick high, and it's cheap. It's just cheap.
Wow. Well, thanks, doctor. We will be back again and talk about your case and more on your opinion on what we can do about the opioid crisis in the United States.
Thank you very much for your time and
Thank you.
consideration.